So our event is indeed for thousands of people, and our organization is only some 20 plus people, like 23, I think, at the moment. So we are a small team, but we need lots and lots of people to pull off this fantastic event experience then once a year.
Welcome to WITT. Hi, I'm Megan. I talk with founders, investors, and operators working in tech. My aim is to inspire you with their stories and perspectives. Through this podcast, I want to amplify the voice of women working in tech. If you want to support WITT, then make sure you follow us on your favourite podcasting app. Then you won't miss any future episodes. Today, I'm joined by Salla, Chief Customer Experience Officer at the Nordic Business Forum, where she designs high-stakes experiences for thousands of global leaders. Let's get into it. Hi, Salla. Welcome to WITT. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's wonderful that you invited me.
Of course. Well, I would love to kick off our conversation with a lightning round. Is that okay?
Of course. Let's go.
Okay, great. Let's get straight into it with the first question. So, Nokia ringtone or Microsoft Windows startup sound? Which one is your favorite?
Nokia ringtone, obviously.
Love it. Question number 2. What is the first job you've ever had?
I was teaching gymnastics to very small children, aged maybe 3 years old. It was called a satujumpa. It's kind of fairy tale gymnastics or something like that.
Very cute. Okay. Question number 3. What is your personal definition of world-class experience?
Wonderful question. It is something that totally touches your emotions, evokes emotions, makes you feel something, and is something out of the ordinary. So it has to surpass ordinary standards and be something that really makes you feel something.
Definitely. I love that. Okay, question number 4. Are you a pancakes person or are you a waffle person?
I'm probably a pancakes person, after all.
I like it. Good choice. Question number 5. What is the bravest career decision that you've ever made?
I haven't made maybe such huge jumps that would have been very, very scary. But I think, let's think. I've moved from the corporate side to a Finnish growth company. Maybe that is brave to do.
I think so. Definitely. Okay, question number 6. What is your superpower in the workplace?
Well, at least I've been told that one of my superpowers would be to excite and inspire others. And I hope I'm using that superpower wisely, because I think it's very important to get people on board.
Definitely, 100%. Okay, question number 7. What is your favorite Finnish word or phrase?
Favorite Finnish word or phrase? I think for many, it is something that is dear to our heart. Äiti, I think. Mum is one that of course always evokes nice emotions. I still have my mum around. She's 80 now. So it's at least a good word. And I am a mum myself as well. Mum to 2 daughters. So it's a lovely role as well to have.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, question number 8. What is one country that's on your bucket list to visit?
Great question. I would love to visit South Africa one day. I haven't yet visited it.
Definitely. It's a great country. Okay, question number 9. Who has been your favorite speaker at the Nordic Business Forum so far? And I know there's been a lot, so which one is your favorite?
There have been many great ones, but I think my personal favorite, at least in terms of the speech and the delivery, was Carla Harris in 2019. She was the managing director of Morgan Stanley, and she gave a fantastic keynote without any slides, and it was just a masterpiece.
Very, very impressive. Very cool. Okay, and then the last question for the lightning round is, if you had to kind of describe your journey, your career journey, in 3 emojis, what would they be and why?
That's a fantastic question. I think one would be definitely the emoji with the hearted eyes.
Okay.
Or the one with the stars.
Yep.
In the eyes.
Got it.
I think it's the excitement and so on. maybe also the hands, kind of either the high fives or like the thank you hands,
Love it.
however you define it, because I'm very grateful of everything. Then maybe one of the emojis where there's like shine or sparkle or something like that, because I'm a bubbly person myself. And I think I've been able to use that across my career and be my authentic self.
Love it. Very, very cool. Well, that was really awesome. Thank you for answering my lightning round questions. And
Thank you.
let's now move on to your journey, right? So you've worked in some pretty, I would say, some pretty iconic companies, Nokia, Microsoft, and then you're now leading customer experience at my favorite tech event that I've ever been to, the Nordic Business Forum. Now, I want to kind of understand what pulled you towards kind of customer experience and that kind of thing. What was the kind of main driver?
Thank you for that question. I've been doing many things across my career. Indeed, I first spent 15 years in big corporations like Nokia and Microsoft, and then joined the Nordic Business Forum, a business and leadership conference held here in Helsinki about 9 years ago. And when I'm looking back of all the roles that I've done and all the tasks and responsibilities I've had, they are somehow related to ensuring that people who I work with are happy, customers, internal colleagues, teams, other stakeholders. And then when I had been on the corporate side for 15 years and was about to join Nordic Business Forum, where, by the way, I had already been a customer once, like an event guest once, I just somehow realized as well that customer experience is a thing that I burn for. I think I have some qualities that I can help with as well. So that I can help drive those things that help make customers happy and stay loyal. So I think it was kind of almost like a natural evolution or maybe a coincidence or whatever it is, but it just happened to be so that the stars aligned. And when there was a need on Nordic Business Forum to have a person to lead that function, and then I was just ready to move on. So I think it was a wonderful coincidence in that sense.
Definitely. I mean, I think you do an absolutely amazing job at kind of really bridging that gap between kind of like the speakers and the audience. And I think you do such an amazing job. And it's very, very impressive because Nordic Business Forum it's a pretty big event, I would say. And there's a lot happening. And in a kind of world where events and products and teams are like increasing digitally, I want to understand, like, how do you create an emotional connection at that scale, at that big scale?
That is a very good question. And you are very right about it, that doing a physical event gives us a chance to actually do it in a different way than if you do something digitally. I think, on a digital side, it's easy to share information and do things like that. But when you want to create like a full body emotional experience, it is different when we get to meet face to face. And there are many things that we focus on in terms of the customer journey and what happens across the 2 days when people come to our event here in Helsinki. But one, great source of inspiration for us is the quote by Maya Angelou, an American poet and writer, who said that people will forget what you did and people will forget what you said, but that people will never forget how you made them feel. And that is such a fantastic quote also for capturing what good customer experience is all about. It's about leaving a mark. It's about creating something that evokes emotions. And that has been the guiding light for us as well when we design our experience. And we try to think like, how can we evoke those right types of emotions among our customers? And of course, we would love them to be like positive emotions, like highlights and things that really stick with them. We also then know that sometimes also there can be some surprises, maybe negative experiences that can always happen when there are thousands of people involved. And we do realize that they also are things that people remember. But of course, we do whatever is within our power to ensure that we would create enough of those wonderful experiences. So that is kind of what drives us.
Yeah, definitely. I really like that quote. It is so true as well, because
a lot of it is, the human brain is very kind of forgetful in most cases, but you never forget how you feel about something, which is such an incredibly powerful kind of driving force, which is great, which is phenomenal. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Nordic Business Forum leadership program, right? Because it kind of, the expression is it takes an army of people to deliver something like this. So I want to understand kind of how it works, and then what are the people involved, how many are there? Can it give me a little recap summary?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you for asking. So our event is indeed for thousands of people, and our organization is only some 20 plus people, like 23, I think, at the moment. So we are a small team, but we need lots and lots of people to pull off this fantastic event experience then once a year. It's a 2-day event. So what we've done now since 10 years already and more here in Helsinki is that we've worked together with hundreds of students who then join our team as a temporary part of our organization. And every year, indeed, hundreds of students have a chance to apply to become a part of our team. They are from the University of Applied Sciences of Haaga-Helia and some of the other collaboration universities. And then when these students have worked as part of our customer service and hospitality team, they have a chance to apply to become a team leader or to become a part of this leadership program. So only the ones who've worked at our event in the customer service and hospitality team are eligible then for applying for that program. And already this year, we have now chosen the ones who will become team leaders for next year. We will have 14 students from Haaga-Helia, and I think 1 or 2 of them are from maybe Laurea or Metropolia. But anyway, like Helsinki-based universities. And then, they could apply. We interviewed them and we tried to find a group of 14 people who would have a fantastic growth mindset, who would want to kind of step up their game and take more responsibility and also learn how to be a good leader. So that's what we do. We kick things off with them in January, and then we'll have this leadership program throughout the spring. Then we have a summer break, and when autumn comes and our event is just a few months away, then we start recruiting a new team for them to lead as well. So that's how it works.
Very interesting. That's a really interesting process. I have a follow-up kind of question. Is they kind of volunteer to do this, right? Don't they? They kind of come out of the university, and then it's a great experience for them as well, which is really great.
Yeah, they do kind of, volunteering is actually the word that we've used since a few years, because they actually also get salary. So they actually are paid to join our team, but they also get studying credits. So they get these ECTS credits, a certain number for joining us for this event week and the trainings before. And we've collaborated since many, many years now with Haaga-Helia, so that they can actually progress with their studies while they are working with us. That's how it works. But indeed, it is a chance for students also without a previous work experience to join and get to experience what it is like to produce an event of our scale. And then be a part of it and then do different types of customer service tasks. Maybe it's being part of the check-in team, maybe it's part of working in the cloakroom and so on, like many types of different roles they do at the event.
Which is really great for kind of experience and kind of understanding what it is to be a part of something, this big and this impressive and this many people on the 2 days is just... It's a great experience. I think it's a really, really important thing to kind of understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Okay. I would like to, as it were, kind of step into your shoes and understand the whole event management process, basically. Can you kind of explain to me the entire process for you from start to finish?
How much time do we have? Well, I try to keep it short. Obviously, as I mentioned, I myself have been around for almost 10 years now. The event has been existing for over 15 years. It started off in Jyväskylä, in the middle of Finland, and then moved to Helsinki in 2014. So obviously, like, we've been kind of doing this for quite many years now.
Yeah.
And our annual clock is kind of quite well defined. So we know what needs to be done when. But of course, like when we have the event in the end of September, after that, then we of course collect feedback and, try to understand what went well and how was the experience. But immediately then we start selling tickets to the next one. We already launched the speaker lineup largely already then. And then we know already when the next event will be in a year's time. And we start selling tickets, we start selling partnerships, and we start preparing this production, thinking what we will keep, what we might want to develop further. And then we have a very, strictly defined yearly clock, what will happen when, so that we actually get this huge production for probably over 8,000 guests done for next year. So we already have sold more than 7,100 tickets now, and the event is 8 months away.
Yeah. It's a great strategy to kind of do all of the hype for the next year's speakers and then be like, you can get the tickets now.
Well, I also think it's quite genius. It is thanks to our founders who I think have done it across all the years. And then it is very smart as a strategy, because then we know already who will be coming, when they buy the tickets. We know that, we have financed the event to a certain extent, and then we still have time to sell more. But I agree. And I think many others would agree as well that it's good. And the pricing model is, of course, so that it's least expensive. It's kind of most cost efficient to buy it back then, when the event is launched. So it's a win-win.
Exactly. Definitely it is. I would like to talk a little bit about the speakers, right? So when you're booking these kind of global icons, you could say, or these very, very influential people, how do you kind of decide, or how does Nordic Business Forum decide between the kind of big names that sell tickets and the kind of big thinkers that shift mindsets? Where's the kind of line?
Yeah. Oh, it's a wonderful question. And it's not an easy task necessarily, but it's a fascinating process, obviously. Yeah. We are known as the kind of the content curator for many business leaders here in Finland. So they kind of trust that, hey, Nordic Business Forum knows what are the topics and themes and trends that I need to understand to be able to succeed as a leader and for my company and my organization to perform. So we take great responsibility in curating that lineup for them. And of course, it also goes so that certain big names we might have been in negotiations with since many years, because the timing might not work for them, or they might have already taken other commitments, or there are many things, though. Sometimes it's about long-term discussions across the years, and sometimes it is then when we've picked the theme. We always have a theme for each of the years. So then it's about matching a speaker to the theme that, hey, now we want to discuss, for example, next year's event theme is the human edge. So then we try to think like, okay, who are the best speakers to connect to that team and contribute to that? And then we have sub themes as well. So that's how it goes. But this kind of balancing act between the stardust speakers and then the professors and, writers and authors and thinkers who actually kind of indeed can shift minds, as you said. That is the balancing act we are doing all the time. And then we also try to listen to our customers, what they want.
Yeah, and I think you're doing a fantastic job of it as well. It was very impressive this year with its lineup of very interesting people, but they did shift mindsets as well, which is very hard to do, which is very impressive.
Well, thank you so much. I'll let my team know how you felt.
Good. Okay, let's move off Nordic Business Forum for a bit, and let's talk about your book, which I didn't know you wrote a book, but very interesting that you did. So it's called Success is Created Through Customer Experience, a Guide for B2B Leaders. And as I kind of understand, it is an essential playbook for how companies kind of build by prioritizing customer experience. Now, I want to understand, like, first off, why did you write a book? It's always a good question to ask, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great that you ask. So it was a co-authored book. So we were 5 colleagues or friends. We've become friends, of course, through the process as well. And it was back in 2020, actually just when Corona hit, the COVID-19 hit. And we actually learned to know each other exactly that spring. It was partly through social media, which might be also interesting for people to know that, you can actually make very good connections over LinkedIn. There was actually first a discussion thread initiated by one of the authors there. And it was about like which are the companies that actually have embraced this and have been able to really perform well because of customer experience. And then I was invited into the discussion and we learned to know each other. Actually, then one of them invited some of us to come to a podcast where we discussed it. And then quickly thereafter, actually, this idea came, and one of my colleagues there said that she actually thinks we should write a book, and she had connections to what is today called Alma Insight, one of the publishing houses for business books. And actually quite quickly then started proceeding after that. I think it took maybe only a month before we had the publishing agreement with the publishing house. So maybe not the most typical story, but obviously we had then already sat down together and discussed, what the scope of the book could be. But yeah, we co-authored it. There were people from slightly different backgrounds, partly from corporate backgrounds, partly from other types of roles and so on. But yeah, it was a wonderful learning process as well. And to try to capture what are the things that customers appreciate and what companies should be thinking about.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very interesting topic, and I feel like it's good that's very interesting that you barely knew each other and then you just wrote a book together. That's quite entertaining.
That's how it went. But I mean, you do learn to know each other quite well throughout the process. So we started interviewing lots of B2B leaders. I think about 50 B2B leaders, so that we would understand, their learnings and so on, and validate some of the hypotheses that we had for our book. We did that over the summer and so on. And then the actual writing took place between maybe August and February, and then it went into print. But within a year, actually, it was already published. So that's how it went.
That's very fast, actually, for a book. That's very quick, very impressive. Well, very interesting to learn about this, because I obviously didn't know that you wrote a book, but it's very interesting. I'll have to give it a read. Definitely.
And of course, it's in Finnish, so it's called Menestys syntyy asiakaskokemuksesta, but it is also available in Finnish libraries, for example, if there are any who know Finnish who could be interested in reading it, and it's also available as an audiobook.
Okay, lovely. Okay, let's dig into your frameworks. Right. So firstly, you talked about always assuming the best intentions and never taking anything personally. First off, let's kind of just explain that a little bit more. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, thank you for asking. That has been a profound insight in my life since many, many years already. And it's one that I always share if somebody asks, is there something that has helped you with your life and so on, especially I think professional life, but this assuming the best intentions has also really well worked in my private life as well. That I truly want to believe that people have good intentions, and I consciously want to believe so, even when sometimes there might be reason to believe that somebody doesn't have good intentions. But I think this mindset of wanting to assume the best intentions just helps with all the situations, because then you kind of come in there also with good intentions yourself. It's kind of, we want good for one another, and it does help like put things into perspective, and indeed relate to this other part, like not taking anything personally, because also if you consciously don't take anything personally, then I think it just it's easier to manage whatever situation it might be, or whatever the disagreement you might have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's a very simple framework, but I like it because it's very kind of like going into a I don't know, agreement or conversation or whatever it is with the best of intentions and hoping that the other person kind of reciprocates that is, I feel like, a great way to kind of start out any partnership or whatever it is, because then you're both going in with the kind of the opinion that the person will kind of give back. It's that kind of feedback, which is great.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. And many other leaders have obviously also referred to that. I think I first kind of really like learned it or heard it when Steven Ilop was the CEO of Nokia. He's a bit of a polarizing figure here in Finland because, of course, he came in as an American, and then the story of Nokia was maybe didn't develop the way that many would have wanted. Microsoft then bought the mobile phones business from Nokia, and that's a different story altogether. But Steven Ilop was one of the leaders who I heard it from, this assuming the best intentions, and I immediately liked that approach. And also Risto Siilasmaa, who used to be the chairman of Nokia, also he had it as part of his golden rules for the board that he was leading. And it was indeed one of the things that he wishes that and expected it from his board members, to assume the best intentions. So I totally agree.
Definitely. Okay, you had a second framework as well, which is called RACI. So responsibility, accountability, consulted, and informed. Can you give me an example of this, or can we give it a little bit of an explanation?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually then a concrete framework for managing projects. And I think most of us in our lives manage different types of projects, quite often with other people, either professionally or maybe in your hobbies or somewhere. That model is a great project management model because it helps define the division, a very clear division of labor. And actually it means that somebody is ultimately accountable for the project. For example, the project lead could be ultimately accountable. And then there can be several people who are responsible for certain things. For example, driving, I don't know, the sales of, maybe there's an event that you are producing, the sales of it, or the marketing of it, or the production of it. So you can have several people who are responsible. And they should know, you should be defining that. Okay, they are the responsible people in this project. And then there's this C, so consulted, or sometimes we also call it contributor. Because they are the people who need to be consulted before a key decision is made. And they might not be the ones who are driving that project stream, for example, but they are the ones whose opinion and viewpoint is important. So these C people are also very important. And typically then the rest of the people who are somehow engaged with the project, or so they should be informed. So they are the I. So they don't necessarily need to be consulted before a decision is made, but they need to be informed so that they kind of stay in the loop. And if we think of, for example, a complex event production like Nordic Business Forum, this is crucially important to understand who is supposed to drive something, who is the responsible for which part, who are the ones who are supposed to contribute to it or to be consulted, and who are then the ones where it's enough actually that they are informed. That they don't need to actively contribute. So I'm sometimes surprised how few people know of this framework, because at least for us, it's been so helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's definitely giving a name to something, because most of the time people don't really name things as they are. And it's a lot easier to kind of understand, especially in a project sense, is to understand whose role is whose Then I feel like it's a lot easier to kind of work as a team in that sense, which makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. It does. And it's so and there's, it's not my framework. I can't even remember where I learned it from, but there's plenty of material. If you just put RACI and Google or ChatGPT or whatever, but there's plenty of material, and it's easy to understand. And a good thing in the beginning of a project is to sit down together and do this RACI model, because then it's clear for everybody what we are doing together.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, that's great. Let's now move into story time, right?
Okay.
So I want to know what happened with Barack Obama when he was visiting the Nordic Business Forum. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, first of all, of course, I think he's one of the most well-known speakers there, and everybody was looking forward to having him. And I think he's the name who generated the most sales within one day. I think it was hundreds and hundreds of tickets that were sold when we announced back in the summer of 2019 that he's going to join. But of course, there was a lot of arrangements around this whole fact that he's coming because he's the former president of the United States, obviously. But what really was impressive for us was then how human and how kind of approachable he was when he was visiting. And there's one story about the moment when our core team, like the 20 or so of us, had a chance to actually take a group shot with him in his busy schedule. And then he came there, we shook hands, we shared a lovely moment. But I think it's so telling how he then realized that, hey, the photographer who was taking all the photos, including our group shot, that he's probably not in any of those photos, and he's been doing that work throughout the day. So then Barack Obama suggested himself that, hey, why don't we take a photo with the photographer? And then he was there in the same photo with the photographer. So I think that is kind of very telling, and it's somehow very moving as well, that the people who've had literally the biggest maybe power in the world in terms of a political leader, they can be also very human, and indeed he totally was.
Yeah, which is phenomenal, which is really, really great. Well, that was a great story. Thank you for telling me. We're sadly coming to the end of the podcast, but I do have 3 final questions for you.
Okay.
So, first one is, imagine it's 2035, so in 10 years' time. What does your kind of life look like? What does Nordic Business Forum look like? Where are we?
Well, when it's 2035, I will still be in working life. Obviously, I think working life will have changed a lot because of AI and many other things that we can't even imagine, I think, today. But I hope I still get to do what I think I'm best at, and kind of leverage my strengths and the things that I'm passionate about. So I think that is at least for me a very important thing to do, and go towards the things that I feel like I'm best at and where I can really make a difference.
Definitely, 100%. Okay, second question. How can listeners follow along with your journey?
Well, I'd be very happy if people want to follow my journey and learn maybe more about customer experience and the leadership related things. LinkedIn is a great channel. I'm quite active there. I'm also on Instagram, but LinkedIn, I think, is the one that kind of then captures most of the professional life as well.
Definitely. Okay, and then last question. How can listeners be useful to you? So what can they do to help you?
Wonderful question. I think I'm hoping we all are making a positive impact to one another. So I think, for example, embracing this mindset of assuming the best intentions and trying to find whatever it is that they are best at, what their superpower is, and then leveraging that for the benefit of others. I think that's how I feel like they would be helping me as well, because I think they would be making the world a better place through that.
Definitely. Well, that was great. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. I'm really looking forward to following along with obviously your journey and the Nordic Business Forum's journey as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for those great questions, and all the best for you, Megan.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. To make sure you don't miss next week's episode, follow us on your favorite podcasting app. Do consider leaving us a review, as it helps the podcast tremendously.